Hello and welcome back to Jack Knives Reviews. I'm of course your host, Jack Knives. It's our final review of Game Month. Well, here we are at the end of our fun little journey together. So for the final installment of Game Month, let's take a look at The Last of Us. A deadly fungal infection has spread around the world, causing its victims to die and become fungal zombie creatures. A man named Joel has to escort a young girl named Ellie across this hellscape, as she might be the key to saving humanity. I have to really pick my words when I say this review, because I know it's going to sound a little overboard, but I mean this sincerely. This is probably, in all accounts, the best adaptation of a video game I've ever seen. I know that's not a huge statement, but what makes it so damn amazing is the elements that work and the elements that make it stand out on its own and make it unique. And I love that for it because it allows it to be its own separate thing and yet staying true to the source material. When I first heard that they were doing an adaptation of The Last of Us, I was kind of excited. I liked the first game and I hated the second one, but I did like the first. But when I heard Pedro Pascal was playing Joel, I hate saying this, I was kind of irritated because I'm like, isn't that a little typecasty? I mean, he literally played a character similar in The Mandalorian. But no, he's legitimately a great Joel. Dare I say, probably the best version of Joel I could think of. I mean, the way he has this somberness to him, this stoic attitude of like, he doesn't want people around, but he has reasons why, and he has this energy around him that he brings to the performance that its subtlety speaks more volumes than him just saying, I feel this, or I act this, or I believe this. And Bella Ramsey does the same thing with Ellie, and I was really hesitant because I wasn't sure how their chemistry was going to work on screen. With the game, their chemistry was very much not just a central focus of the entire game, but it was an element that brought this kind of heaviness to it. You have two people who are essentially so out of time, not just because of their ages, but because they are literally out of different time periods. Ellie has only understood everything from the infection on. Joel remembers the time before, the good times. And it's interesting to see that dynamic play out in a way that's not overly abundant and overly done, like it has been in a lot of adaptations, especially of things that talk about a post-apocalyptic story. It had this really fun element to him where, you know, Ellie is still a ball buster like she is in the game, but she's not a harsh ball buster. There were times when I played the game where Ellie kind of just came off as cold and callous for no reason. But Bella Ramsey has the right balance and right feel to it. And there were also elements in the video game where I felt that Joel was too harsh, too rough. And this version of Joel is a little more smooth, a little more easing off the pedal, so to speak. There are elements they did change as the adaptation. For example, in the original game, the infection is more of a fungus. It's called the fungus, I think that's what they're called. And it's more based off of plants and contact, and it's kind of overgrown the planet. Whereas this version is based off of actual things that happen in nature, which are based off of this actual real parasitic thing that lives in ants. In ant culture, it also gets into other creatures. There are different creatures that are kind of parasites, where they are fungi that kind of get into your brain but become your brain. It's weird. If you see the videos of like the ants getting infected with these brain replacing parasites, they basically said it's that. the opening dialogue, the very opening, before the elements happen and you hear these scientists talking, like, it feels genuine. Like, it feels like an actual thing I could see existing in nature. And then when you see the element that happens in, I think, Taiwan, I think that's where it was, like Thailand or something, it was like really messed up, like to a whole new level of like showing things that like the game didn't really do too much. I mean, the game obviously had the element of the infected, but we only see the experience through Joel and Ellie. But the series allowed itself to kind of work outside of that element, and way better for it. I am not gonna lie, episode 3, the two guys, the two old men, that episode, I was like, oh my god, I felt so bad. So much deeper of a human element to the story, because, you know, when you have post-apocalyptic stories, you usually have characters going through these abandoned buildings, these abandoned houses, these abandoned properties, and, you know, death is just there. But it's different when you see a life of a person and then you see it end. It adds this extra element of like, ooh, like you, the audience, are more invested. And obviously you can't do that with every character, but in the rare occasions you do, you get this very, very heartfelt deepness in the story structure and following it, and the pain that these characters experience, and that's just great storytelling. It brought my expectations of this series. By episode 3, I was in for the whole ride, and I needed this. I think, honestly, if you haven't seen this series, you need to see this series. Even if you're not into video games, or into any games at all. This series, out of all of the things I've reviewed this month, is the one to watch. I give The Last of Us 5 out of 5. Well, that concludes this year's game month, and who knows, maybe I'll bring it back again next year. It all really depends on you, the audience. If you guys enjoy it, let me know. Maybe I'll do it again, and maybe you could give me some recommendations, some new stuff. Who knows? I do know, though, that next month is Jack-O-Ween, and I'm so excited for it. See you next time.